Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. You're welcome to Morning Spring today on Western Spring Television, the first one for this week, the year-ending edition, because in the next 2 days, it will be a wrap of, Morning Spring for year 2025, and of course, the year itself, 2025. What a year this has been. Actually, quite eventful, to just be in the middle of whatever it is that has happened so far. And today is Monday, 29th of December 2025. This is day 363 of the year out of 365. Thank God we are alive. Femi Ojo is my name. And of course, on the program, you already know what it is. We look at different headlines from our major dailies. We then converse, we talk, we dialogue, deep, honest, frank conversations about the public good, spanning different topics and every endeavor of human lives as far as Nigeria is concerned. Papa is here. Good morning to me, Papa. How do you do?
How do you do?
Right.
Good morning, Bars. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Ocean State. And this is Morning Spring and Western Spring Television. I'm glad to be back here for this first installment of Morning Spring and Western Spring Television for the week. And possibly, yes, and for the year. My name is Timitope Ajijola.
Right. So we began a series last week about the events that have shaped this year.
Yeah.
And so much to really look into and to talk about as well. But before all of that, as part of the year as well is the I think something happened last week that we skipped. There's this reconciliation committee put together by the All Progressives Congress, inaugurated by Mr. President, and I had so many persons in that list. It's a party thing, which is okay. Whatever they want to do, each party is their business. And then one name, has been generating so much controversy is that of Yahya Bello, the governor, former governor, or de facto governor. You might call him the de facto governor, even till now, of Kogi State. And but then officially, former governor of Kogi State, whose name appeared on that list. And one would ordinarily say he's a member of the APC, right? But then, looking at the optics of doing things in Nigeria, of the fight against against corruption, anti-corruption crusade, and coming through as a government who will not condone corruption or any form of it, either in allegation form or in confirmed form. Everybody knows the baggages hanging around the neck of Yahya Bello. In fact, since he left office, it was being, alleged by the FCC of misappropriation of funds and all of those things, financial impropriety while in office. There was the allegation of him paying thousands of dollars, even upfront, for his children from the coffers of the government. It was being looked for. Of course, it wasn't answering their call. Later, it was traced to a particular place only for evacuation or whatever the sitting governor did at that time to whisk him away. And then for months, he was even placed on wanted list, Yahya Bello. Finally, in fact, the EFCC chairman at that time, he just came into the fore as a chairman, as Ololukoide, granted so many, interviews at that time and said, Yahya Bello, they are going to get him. And if actually he would not see to a logical conclusion, would rather resign and all of those things. And he even said, he had a word with Yahya Bello and said, come in. He said Yahya Bello told him that his political opponents might want to use that against him. He said he even offered him to come through the back door, to have this investigation done in his own office. One will wonder why so. So why would you want to grant him that status thing? He didn't do all of that. At the end of the day, fast forward, after being declared wanted, and then finally was led to the FCC office, even by the same governor as well. That's Usman Ododo. And it's been what it is. Yeah, I think he has appeared in court, looking all fresh, sitting while fan was blowing, his head and face and all of those things. And now, with all of the allegation is still there. the case is fact. In fact, the case is just there. No headway, no nothing. And that same Yahaya Bello, he's been put up in a committee inaugurated by Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for one or two things as far as party affairs is concerned. Well, the jury is in the open.
That's a very good observation you made, Femi. And I think the Nigerians should be brought to that awareness. It's very important. I remember on our sister station where we used to have Satan Gist, and we used to have this, call and wake, of all of the cases that we're having. You remember last week I was just saying that complicity, by this particular administration, where I've forgotten what I thought about it when you were speaking. I've forgotten now. But this particular case, you would expect that, in other climes, when you have somebody on a wanted list by the biggest anti-graft, institution in the country, you should have you all sweaty, jittery, and all of this. You talked about the fact that he was in that courtroom, just there and relaxed and all of those things. Remember how Yabelo was through the back door, taken out of a place that was surrounded by security agents. That was a terrible thing on our nation. And then
not
talking
just
about
security agent, by Usman Ododo and his
he came in.
Yeah.
He came in, but the place was already surrounded.
Yeah.
They serenaded the place and they had the place on a lockdown. But
and anything could have gone wrong that day.
Exactly.
Because all it took,
anything could have done wrong if they had done their job. But because of the status thing and all of those that we are talking about. Okay, yes, I remember where I was talking about the complicity of government, where I was talking about the Natasha case and talking about what business as the state with that kind of case, and where you have the Nigerian state. I'm talking about the federal government now suing the lady or having the Attorney General of the Federation too. This is a case where, apart from the nation or the EFCC putting him on a wanted list, we should have the federal government speaking to that issue. We should have the Attorney General of the Federation also speaking to that issue. But no, they left all of these cases that would interest Nigerians, talking about money by taxpayers of the country. We're talking about all of the dust again that tax is raising, tax paying is raising. We're talking about people being averse to paying more tax, or although they've said that this tax thing may, possibly remove a lot of burden on Nigerians. But we're talking about how Nigerians really, why they are averse to paying tax in the first place. All of these issues culminate in the failure, again, of the Nigerian state and our institutions.
I agree with you completely. And so by the way, anybody can be alleged, actually, because allegation, that doesn't mean confirmation. It's only the court. As they say, you are innocent until declared guilty by the court. But then, when you have people who are politically inclined, he's in the ruling party, he's still frolicking with people in power, the case is just nowhere. Well, it might be in the court, but there's no headway, no. And we all know how Ojiuzo Kalu's case was bungled by the FCC. A suit, a trial that took 12 years. The man even went to prison, but then he appealed again, and the court quashed it because of procedural error, technical error, and told the FCC to go and restart that case again. Today, Uojiuzo Kalu remains a serving senator of the Federal Republic. It's just the way it is. Not because anybody wants him to go, but then things must be done rightly. So it's still an allegation, but then in as much you have such a baggage that has to do with financial impropriety, with people's patrimony, people's resources, and that man is still being given roles in the national ruling party. So with what posture can Tinubu's administration and his handler say they are fighting war against corruption? These are some of the issues.
I remember the allegation that was recently placed on your former authority chairman too, by Dangote. Let's see where that case goes. Probably it's going to end at the resignation thing, or Nigeria is going to follow it through. Let's see what happens.
Okay, leave this office.
And that's it.
Well,
if you can resign, you're off the hook.
Well, ICPC said they have received the petition and they are working on it, but then we are counting. It's more than 2 weeks now. We will want to see what becomes of that case. Yeah. But I'm sure that many persons that are watching that will say, keep on hoping. By 2020, whatever, you come back to this case as well.
Well, be sure that we're going to hold you accountable on this show.
Yeah, sure.
We'll be counting down.
And we say it as it is. By the way, there has been this back and forth between Ayo Fayose and Seyi Makinde with a snide, subtle jab from the weakest camp, because Larry Olayinka is part of the mix right now. We have more, on that in the course of the program. Not because of the political shenanigans, but because of the place of the people of Nigeria. Because the allegation is about money. It's about, you have taken this, you took this, you didn't declare. No, I didn't take that. It's not as huge as you are claiming. Oh, I didn't even take at all. Oh, this is what you are doing. You are being sincere. Now it's about money. Money, people's patrimony. Can we permit us
and the
money?
Channel through which it came.
Yeah. But right now, the papers are in. We'll take a quick break. When we return, you will have more on the headlines, in our front page, in different front pages of different dailies today. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Morning Spring, the breakfast show on Western Spring Television. I begin to serve you the papers now. The headlines right here. I begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. And the banner headline here says, U.S. airstrikes, casualties likely in Sokoto. U.S. airstrikes, casualties likely in Sokoto. And below that, all right, so let's check out the map here. There's a map there showing Tangaza in red, Tambuwal also in red right there. Map of Sokoto State with red colors showing local government areas hit by the U.S. airstrikes. Right below that, fuel price down, transport fares still up. And below that, to the bottom strip of Daily Trust newspaper this morning, we have this. 34 lawyers fail integrity test for judges' appointment. That's on page 7. Still on page 7, new tax regime may push airfares beyond 1 million naira, says Onyema. Right. Wike to Fubara, supporting Tinubu won't earn you return ticket. Wike to Fubara, supporting Tinubu won't earn you return ticket. That's on page 11. And below the nameplate right there, gunmen kill 2 siblings, abduct 4 others in Gombe. Gadan Bijami, FCT community, where pregnant women travel 4 kilometers for care. That's a very absurd situation there. Selling us there in Gadan Bijami, an FCT, that's an FCT community, as a place where pregnant women travel 4 kilometers for care. That's on page 16 of Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Can the government set to join APC, says aid. That's on page 11 on Daily Trust newspapers this morning. Interesting times in Nigeria.
All right. So much to really talk about as far as, politics is concerned, and talking about these airstrikes. We learned there was, or there are reports that maybe there was another one in Borno over the weekend, and
the whole thing is shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah.
And I think that we may.
I think you said that last week.
Yeah,
as
we
well.
may know why. We may not know why. Well, your guess is as good as mine anyway. But we'll begin to see what we want is for our nation to be rid of terrorism. And whatever it takes is what the governments, the 2 governments in collaboration now should give it.
Well, especially, we should expect more from the Nigerian government because this is on our soil and it's more about us. We are not talking about Nigeria being involved in intervention in Texas or Wisconsin or Massachusetts or New York. So you expect the American to be in the forefront of that. But this is on our land. Nobody is asking them to give us where they are going to attack next, or no, you can't do that because you're talking about security and national security.
But there should be accountability.
Or while in the process, you are saying, oh, let us know how it's going. No, but the moment you are done, and of course, a high-level security debriefing is done, let Nigeria know what's happening next. So that, and I think it will even help the government more when people are getting tidbits, up-to-date information, and they are knowing that it is accurate. So, rumor peddlers, so-called opposition party, the way the people in government will say it, will not use that opportunity to say things that are not there. You should take the lead. That's my point here. Not playing catch-up and not trying, to say one or two things from there. Well, from the Daily Trust, let's see the Guardian. The Guardian newspaper, oversight concerns as Assembly hastily passed 34.63 trillion budget. Oversight concerns as Assemblies hastily passed 34.63 trillion naira budget. Talking about different states assemblies. All right, because one would think, what is even the level and credibility of the work being done by these state assemblies, where many of them are, it's just what it is. They are lackeys of whoever is the state executive there, except you see a state that has maybe a state that doesn't have a clear majority of the party in power. That's it. And just because you wonder, for example, in Osun State, what is the scrutiny that has been put on the budget? All right, already one of these days we'd like to have one of the House members there, so that doesn't look at we're undermining the credibility of the work that they do. But it's a general knowledge about how state assemblies run, especially in favor. And it happens even at the national level. What is the level of the work being done? This so-called scrutiny.
General perception.
Except, there is an agency or a minister who is in the bad books of the senators. That's all. That's when you see noise and everybody waxing lyrical on some of these issues. Oversight concerns as assemblies hastily passed 34.63 trillion naira budget. And of course, you have all of those, the state and their budgets there have be an excess of 1 trillion naira. Is one thing to even do this budget. Is one thing to see the performance. It's another thing to see how they are going to fund the budget. Many of these state governments are relying on federal allocations, grants, and loans. Not even their IGR. Many of them are waiting for loans and statutory allocations to the tune of almost 70-60% to fund such budget. So if the money doesn't come from that point, now how do they get to spend? Now moving on, federal government seeks to calm markets as US airstrike test sovereignty and economy. Airlines, agencies fear low patronage as US visa ban begins January 1. I'm talking about Mr. Allen Oyema and his statistics with 1 million. Many persons are puncturing that hole already. He was on a program and he gave some statistics about some airlines. In fact, what he was saying in Nigeria pays the lowest airfare when it comes to, internal flight and all of those things. And many persons are telling me you are lying because because what he did, according to those persons, is to pick premium airlines and for the comparison. So, for example, you pick British Airlines, you pick the Delta Airline. And many Nigerians are telling him, you're picking those airlines. Do you operate in the premium basis in which they operate? You understand what I'm saying? By virtue of the Airbus that they operate, the level of excellence on their planes, the level of operation. So they are now saying there are other airlines that are significantly lower, but then it's not a tit for tat kind of conversation. It's all about looking inwards to see, because what the man is saying is these tax laws, if it goes in effect by January 1, they might be paying significantly higher. And of course, it will turn to low patronage, which might run many airlines of business. All right. Pro-Tinubu chants won't secure second term, wicketers for Barack. You will think everything is okay in Little China until politicians come with that problem. That was part of what I said last week. Most times when you hear Rivers, the next thing is Wiki. Is that all about Rivers State for the last 1 year? That's just the thing. Well,
And Wike seems to be speaking more about Rivers than the governor of Rivers, than the people of Rivers themselves.
Well, the governor, it was in Rivers State over the weekend. It was even received by the State Assembly guys with their family. They even gave him a Christmas present of a 2025 Toyota Camry, actually, to say, you are our father. Please come in like this. And on behalf of our wives and our children and our spouses, we are giving you, you are our father, we are your children. We know that you have many cars. Please add this one to it. It sounded odd. I saw the video. It was more like that.
There is nothing we wouldn't see in this.
Well, and I'm not sure we've seen the last.
Yeah.
Federal government withheld 20 billion about the explosion aid over refusal to pay bribe. It is what it is. And 34 out of 62 lawyers failed integrity test. I think you took that earlier. Obi lawmakers' obedience to join ADC on December 31. Just in 2 days, we'll wait to see. Gazetted Tax Act illegal, amounts to forgery, article insists, and Zamfara attack, Tinubu's trip to Europe, UAE shows lack of empathy, says ADC. That will be all.
I remember we've not heard a concrete thing from government about the gazetted laws and the forgery allegation and all of this. That's another thing we need to tell and keep telling Nigerians to wake up to. That, well, the NBA spoke about it, and I've also called for
I think the
action
best we've had is for presidential spokesperson, Bayo Nonuga, and the other guy, Temitope Ajayi, also to say he's under probe, but be that as it may be, the January 1 commencement date is sacrosanct. That's what they've said. Nothing really about the substance of these allegations. But as they said, the House of Reps is investigating. And do you know the latest update to that is we are hearing that the National Assembly is saying if it's about gazetting, they will re-gazette it. So for me, it's more like...
So who's going to be held accountable in between?
That's it. It's more like if the gazetting, let me interpret it in the ways Nigerians ordinarily will interpret it. It's more like if the gazetting is you people's problem, we will gazette it. Is that all? Or is that not what they are saying? They say we are going to re-gazette. That's a subtle admission that something was wrong. But nobody is being called to question, just like you said. Nobody is being responsible. And they are trying to make it look like Nigerians, there's a way you gaslight people.
It's much ado about nothing.
Yeah, more like, is it not gazetting? Who will gazette so that you people can keep quiet on the matter? And that's how the people in government want the rest of the world to see us.
And that speaks a lot again to the integrity. Just like they're saying that some lawyers are failing integrity test. Well, thank God they took the test. Many people already know the worth of the integrity of some lawyers anyway. But then we're talking about the integrity of this administration. A lot of things. We talked about the Yaya Bello thing. We talked about the former head of the NMDPRA. We talked about lots of issues in this administration. And what we say is, please, 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 that's not what we want to talk about. We just want to talk about consolidations, about 2027. That's why we're here. Well, Nigerians, it's your job to hold your elected officials accountable.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move now to the Punch newspaper. Punch newspaper has this to say. The banner headline says, federal government writes off $1.42 billion, 5.57 trillion naira NNPC debt. I was going to talk about all of the misappropriations that we've heard from NNPC and how we've not heard anything about that. And now the writer to that story says, presidential nod wipes off NNPC's legacy debts to Federation. NUPRC battles 5.65 trillion naira revenue gap. So this debt that has been written off, how does Nigeria close the gap? Where is Nigeria going to get that money from? Who is going to pay, really? And all of the issues around money, misappropriation, all of those. Those are questions, though. Nigerians can ask more about that. Below that, NDLEA uncovers UK-bound cocaine hidden in starch at Lagos Airport. NDLEA uncovers UK-bound cocaine hidden in starch at Lagos Airport. Right. To the bottom strip of the paper, ADC, Labour Party slammed Tinubu over Europe holiday amid security crisis. That's on page 7. India arrests 4 Nigerians for drug trafficking. National Assembly workers protest alleged federal character breach. All right. And then just above the nameplates there, judge's appointment. NJC shortlist 28 as 34 fail integrity test. That's on page 7. Politicians scheming for 600 billion naira in Rivers coffers. That's according to Wike. Regulator pressure. Discos roll out 700,000 free meters. That's also that there is on page 29. And besides the nameplate, 2027 battle, Makinde, Fayoshe, lock hands over 30 billion naira relief fund. Right. Those headlines right there on Punch newspaper this morning.
All right. I guess that's much we can take as far as this newspaper headline segment is concerned. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll speak to these issues. Stay with us.